No other country in the history of the world has ever had those three values as its central values. None. Some have had God, some have had liberty, and none that I know of have had e pluribus unum. But those three are utterly unique to this country. In that way, too, we are exceptional, and these are exceptional values. For example, e pluribus unum, from many one. No other nation can say that. You don't become a German or a Swede or a Japanese when you become a citizen of that country. You become a citizen, but you don't become Japanese. You never become Japanese. You rarely become German. A third-generation Turk who doesn't speak Turkish and who is fluent in German is still not regarded as a German. I'm not blaming Germans for this, it's just we're unique. Whereas 10 days, a day, a minute after arriving here, if someone says he's American and can barely speak English, we regard him or her as an American. That's unique to the United States. We don't give a damn where you come from. We don't give a hoot if you have an accent. It doesn't mean, if you don't have an accent, you're almost un-American, in fact. I'm stunned at if I ever go to a fast food place and the person doesn't have an accent. Where are you from? Colorado? Wow, that's amazing. How did you get here? No, this is a remarkable place. Dinesh D'Souza makes the very intelligent point in his fine book, What's So Great About America? And he was born in India, and he feels 100% American. He says, nobody could become an Indian. Think of an American moved to India and did, in fact, get Indian citizenship. And folks, I'm a big Indian fan. I've been there 4 times. I've taken 100 people on a cruise to India. I love India. But this is not anti-India, it's just a fact. You don't become an Indian because you become a citizen, but you become an American, full 100% American. I am often asked, do I feel, because I am a committed Jew, as you heard from the books I've written on Judaism, I'm very involved my whole life in Jewish life, and written 2 books and about 400 articles on Judaism. I teach the Torah verse by verse from Hebrew at the University of Judaism. I have for 20 years. And I've been asked, well, do you feel first American or first Jewish? And I have a terrific answer, which is my answer no matter who asks me. If you woke me up at 3 a.m., I would give you this answer because it's the truth. I have 2 fathers, Abraham and George Washington. And that's the truth, Ruth. That is exactly what I feel, both emotionally and intellectually. That is what I feel. George Washington is my father, even though my grandfather was a Jew in Poland. George Washington is my father. George Washington is the father of the country of the Azerbaijanian who moves here and becomes an American citizen. There is no place like that. You think if you become a German, the Kaiser or whomever won, or Schiller or Beethoven, that's my group. You don't feel that way. So he makes the intelligent point. He said, look, that is why, because American is an idea, you can say something is un-American. He said, there's no such thing as un-German or un-French or un-Swedish, but there is such a thing as un-American. It's an idea, and we are losing it. We are losing it in the way it is taught by people who so react against this. E pluribus unum taught another radically new thing. You heard tonight in this brilliantly delivered address by Lincoln about how that this is a new nation, that we have created a new nation. We have. And you know why? One of the reasons is from E pluribus unum, because this nation said blood doesn't matter. The first time in the history of the world that was ever said. To every nation, blood was everything. Family, blood, that was above all. Tribe, family, blood. Not in America. Not in America. I interviewed a professor at Harvard who was in U.S. aid in Latin America his whole life. Lawrence Harrison wrote a great book, Who Prospers? Asked a very simple question. Why did North America prosper and South America didn't? Tremendous raw materials, new world. How come? He said, I'll give you the biggest reason. It's called familism. In Latin American culture, they discriminated on the basis of family. If you weren't blood, they didn't trust you. In the United States, they couldn't care less if you were blood or not. Could you do the job? You're hired. It's so taken for granted, American values, that we're losing them because we take them for granted. They're not articulated. They need to be articulated or we will forget them. This in and of itself. You think other societies, just as an example, would have adoption of children from other races and ethnicities and nations like we do and nobody bats an eyelash? Or even adoption, period. Adoption was always a big thing in America. I speak as an adoptive parent. And one of the reasons is nobody cares. Not your blood. Whoopee-doo, who cares? You love your child, not because it's your blood, but because you love him or her. That's American. And it's been generally unique to America. All from e pluribus unum, from many one. We don't care about your blood. Was there racism in American history? You bet. But there was racism everywhere on earth. What is unique to America is not that there were bad people who believed in racism. It is that America abolished slavery and racism. Abolished to the extent that it's abolished. Obviously, there are remnants of racism, but this is the least racist country on the face of the earth, and I will die saying that. Do you know, by the way, we talk, and correctly, we have a terrible stain with regard to racism towards blacks, but do you know that more black Africans have moved to the United States voluntarily than did through slavery? This is a rarely noted statistic. It happened about 15 years ago. William Safire, the late William Safire of the New York Times noted it, and to the credit of the New York Times, it had it on its first front page the day some gentleman from, I think, West Africa became crossed the number when greater numbers of Africans came because they wanted to come to America than came because they were shipped in the hellhole of those slave ships. People want to live here because they know that they will be treated decently. No matter what their color, no matter what their background, no matter what their religion. This is e pluribus unum, second part of the American Trinity, liberty. The French had liberty, right? Liberty, fraternity, equality, French Revolution. But there's a big difference. The French didn't think it through. They said liberty and equality. We didn't. Equality is not in the American Trinity. It is not on any of the coins. Because while, of course, we believe that everyone is created equal, that is in our Declaration of Independence. Of course we believe that. That's absolutely true. But we don't believe in equality as a result, as an ideal. The French do, Europe does. That is why becoming like Europe means abandoning Americanism. That is why Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson wanted the American seal to depict the Jews leaving Egypt. Just as the Jews left Egypt, we Americans left Europe. Half of America, or at least one of its parties, wants us to return to Europe. That is the end of Americanism as we know it, to return to Europe and its values.